Okay guys, and good evening and welcome to my next video about cleaning airbrushes. What I've been doing here, I've just been using this airbrush. It's got grey primer in it, which is this one here, got some grey surface primer in, tiny little bit left in the airbrush. Just going to turn the air jenny back on and basically just finish spraying these spears off, just to use any surplus paints. There's just a tiny bit left in the actual bowl of the airbrush itself. Okay, so that's that done, and these spears, which are doing en masse, are basically undercoated. So there's spears and pikes there, so they're undercoated. Now I need to clean the airbrush out. You can give it a quick clean if you're just going to change colours, which I'll show you now. The easiest way of doing this, I'll just turn the air jenny off so it doesn't disturb us while we're doing it. Straight away, first thing is take a bit of tissue and just clean out the actual bowl. It just removes all the surplus paint out of the bowl there. The next thing you can use, now I'm using acrylic paints. If you're using enamels, obviously you use thinners at this point, but I'm just going to use some water. So all I do, fill the actual bowl up with water. So you see it maybe on the camera there, she's got a little bit of water in. Now with this one here, this is a gravity fed dual action airbrush, which basically means that the paint sits in this cup here. It's fed down by gravity, and the dual feed, let me just switch my airbrush back on. The dual feed comes from, if I push it down, that releases air, alright, and if I pull it back, that releases paint. Okay, so push it down, it releases air, you can hear that going now, and if I pull it back, it pulls the needle back, and that releases, in this case, water. So all that's happening is water's coming from the bowl down the venturi and over the actual end. What you can do if you've got these dual actions and you've got what we call a complete guard on the end, which is this bit here protecting the needle, you can put your finger over and you can actually get it to back up into the bowl there. Okay, it's a bit like one of them joke pipes you used to get. You can do that, tip your water out. So I've got a dirty water one here with all my old paints in. Just tip that one out, and then again you can wipe around the bowl. Now if I'm just changing colour with this, what I would do now is I would literally pull this back, and I don't know if you can see in there, let me see if I can, now you can see the needles there. I undo this little screw at the back here, and that allows the needle to pull back, and if you watch, the needle itself pulls back out of the bowl. Don't pull it all the way back to the trigger, just pull it out of the bowl so that it's away from the bowl, sitting about that angle there. If you pull it all the way back, you'll end up with this trigger mechanism falling out, and it makes it a real pain. But that's withdrawn now, so we can't damage the needle. What I do now, I take a little cotton bud, dip it in the water. Now you can actually use thinners if you want. I've got some airbrush thinner there, which is obviously for thinning out airbrushes, and I've also got some acrylic thinner here. Like I was saying, if this was enamel, all right, I would be using normal thinners, but this is actually acrylic paint, so they're water soluble. Fine, if I'm doing a full strip down the end of the day, I will use the thinners, but for just changing the paint colour, I think it's just good enough. So all I do, I go into the bowl there, give it a swish round, remove any surplus paint. There's bits of paint coming up here, look. Remove any surplus paint, dip the other end in, and then what I do is turn it round. If you can see there, the end there is full of paint. So all I do is just, remember the needle's retracted right here. You must get this needle out of the way if we do any of this, or you damage your needle. Put that in, give it a good swish around, and remove all the surplus paint out of that end as well. What I then do, just quickly recharge this again. I then tip it back into the wastewater. Okay, so that's cleaned the bowl out. The bowl is actually really, I don't know if you can see that in the camera, really clean now. If you look at the end there, that's really clean. There's a bit of paint residue on here, but just remember this is actually just a changing over of paint. I'm just going for a different colour. So all I do now, retract and allow any water in there to go through, and I'll maybe put just a little bit of water in here. Remember, push down to pull the air, you pull back to let the paint go through, but because the needle's out of the way, the paint should be coming through anyway. If you get a blockage with these particular ones, providing you've got a full guard on, you can put your finger over the end, and what that does, it just allows then the moisture to come out. And the way to test these is to actually get a little bit of tissue, spray it, and what you end up with is wet tissue. What you should end up with is wet, but you see that on there, you should end up with wet but very clean tissue. And if you've ended up with a blockage, put your finger over the end, and away we go again. If it is blocked, what you can do is push the needle back forward and just push the needle in and out a few times. That clears the actual end of it. Screw her down, and what we're actually getting out of here, don't you see on my finger there, we're actually getting water coming out, just nice clean water. And the way to test it, put it on your tissue or kitchen roll, just give it a little blast, and as you can see, that is absolutely clean. Okay, you can now tip your wastewater back out again, give it a little blast, even just clean out the bowl. Just make sure you tend to use kitchen roll and not tissue, because kitchen roll doesn't have fibres that will block your airbrush, so kitchen roll is better for this. Once you've done that, you make sure your needles return to its correct position, okay, which is just inside the actual end of the venturi. I'll do it when I do a full strip down this brush. I'm going to do another video. Tighten this end nut up, and then when you depress this and pull back, you can see that in the video. When I'm pulling back, get my finger out of the way, you can see here it's actually pulling the needle out, which pulls the needle here and allows the paint to go through the venturi. So once it's reset now, I can recharge that with my next colour, and away I go again. So it's that quick. So that's basically if I'm changing colours. The next video I'm going to do will be a full strip down. So at the end of the day, when you finish using the airbrush, we do a full strip down on it, and I'll explain more how these airbrushes work. Thanks ever so much for tuning in, guys, and see you next time. Bye bye for now.